Welcome to Room for Dessert. I'm Paige Counts, Public Information Officer for Caldwell County, and I'm just sharing what I love to do with you. It's been a long time, but I'm back in the kitchen in Cooperative Extension's new beautiful kitchen, and joining me today is sous chef Kirsten Matheson.
Hi.
Welcome, Kirsten.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here and for helping me out.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my first time in the kitchen with Paige, so I am super excited.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is your first time.
Yeah, I know. Exciting. So what are we doing today, Paige?
We're going to make cinnamon rolls today, and we're going to take the ordinary canned cinnamon rolls. I don't know if you're like me, like sometimes you just want to grab something when the family's in, quick for breakfast, and you pop these in the oven, and they're dry. I mean, they will fill your belly, but they're a little dry. So
yeah, they are.
Again, I was back on Facebook,
Naturally.
scrolling through the recipes, because, you know, that's what pops up in my Facebook feed. That along with children's toys, but we won't really talk about what that is. Anyway, so I found this recipe, and I thought, I'm going to try it. And I tried it for my family. And in typical Paige fashion, I made a couple of adjustments to this, just because, well, I didn't like exactly the way it turned out. It tasted good, but I thought it could be just a little bit better. So let's just go ahead and get started. So we start with canned cinnamon rolls. And Kirsten, I'm going to ask you just to place those in our baking dish.
Yes,
and
ma'am.
this is I went ahead and greased the baking dish for us, and so it's all ready to go.
And you have already pre-popped the
And I pre-popped
can.
the can because I shopped at Aldi's, and their cans don't pop as fun as some of the other
I know.
brands. And while Kirsten's placing those in, I'm going to mix brown sugar and cinnamon with a half a stick of butter. And I already have our butter melted here, so I can go ahead. And I went ahead, for ease of TV and not having to carry so much over here, I measured that out, and that is 1 cup of brown sugar, and I've got that in with my butter. I'm just mixing that in. We're also going to add in a little bit of cinnamon. We are talking about cinnamon rolls after all.
Absolutely. Let's see if I can find that little one.
That little one.
That little one sticking in there.
And after you get those all placed in there, Kirsten, I'm going to have you pour, that is, in the cup is heavy cream. And because I don't have as many cinnamon rolls as the recipe calls for, I've cut that back to 3/4 cup of heavy whipping cream.
So we're just going to pour that right over.
We're just going to pour that right
All
over.
right. Ooh, that looks good.
And we're doing into our mixture with brown sugar and butter, we're doing cinnamon. The recipe calls for 2 teaspoons. I mean, if you're a big cinnamon lover, you might want more. I don't know. But I'm just mixing that all together. I'm also going to look at my recipe to make sure I'm doing this right, because that too is important. Instead of just making this up as I go along. And we're also going to add a little bit of vanilla. Again, that is 2 teaspoons, so it's really more than a little bit. Kirsten, I know, unfortunately, you're gluten-free.
I am.
You're gluten and dairy-free, so we're going to have to look for some recipes of things that you can eat.
We'll have to get creative with it.
We'll get creative.
But this does look delicious, so I'm excited to see how this turns out.
All right. Oh, vanilla.
Vanilla.
I said we were going to put that in there, didn't I? So we just throw all of that together.
And that was a teaspoon?
That
two?
is 2
2
teaspoons.
teaspoons.
Again, mix that in.
Smells so good. That sugar
Yeah, a lot. This
and
is
cinnamon.
a lot of sugar. This is not your diabetic-friendly recipe.
No.
I don't think I make many diabetic-friendly recipes. I promised Kirsten I would look for more gluten-free options. which I'm learning. Since Kristen's been on staff, I've been learning that.
I know you've made some good stuff in the past for me, so yes, we'll be excited to share it with you guys.
And we are going to try to do this more regularly. And I'm just going to dump this over. It doesn't really have to be pretty. I mean, you want it spread out, obviously, but just dump it in there. Because really what you're trying to do is go for the gooey.
Oh yeah. Almost looks like a crumble on top.
It really does
Yeah.
look like a crumble on top, but as this bakes, it will sink down in there, be part of your cinnamon rolls. So we have that all. No, we don't. More in the pot.
Just a
And I know
little bit.
Eric would tell me I'm supposed to turn this the other way, but I'm so right-handed I can't do that. And we're going to pop this in the oven, and the recipe says just to follow. Let me make sure it says just to follow the instructions on the can. And we'll make sure that you have this recipe on screen. Yeah, just as package directions. So our preheated oven is preheated to 400. I'm going to do 12 and check on them because I'm not super familiar with this oven. We also, this recipe calls for icing on the cinnamon rolls because what would cinnamon rolls be if they weren't gooey?
You gotta have the icing. I mean, goodness.
You do.
And this little packet's just not cutting it.
No,
But it
and
comes in the little thing, so.
while that is delicious powdered sugar mixture, I mean, I always mixed up extra for my family, powdered sugar and milk, just to have a little extra. This is actually a cream cheese icing that this recipe calls for. So, we've got to make a few adjustments here as we move around.
So, switch places.
We're going to switch places. Oh, I'm going to hand you this. It reminds me of mozzarella cheese.
It does, doesn't it?
When I
Like a
picked
little
it up, I
pat
was
of
just-
mozzarella.
And if you've never had fresh mozzarella on your pizza,
Oof, I love it.
that's a game changer.
It is.
So, our icing is room temperature cream cheese. And I laid this out this morning so it would be close to room temperature. And, you know, your fingers have to work. And, Kirsten, can you grab me another spatula?
Yes.
And normally I would have opened this before we started shooting, but I didn't. So you get to watch me, you know, playing cream cheese. Have you ever seen anybody do this gracefully?
I've never been able to do it, so.
I mean, it's like everywhere.
That's the hard thing about when it softens, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I
Yeah.
mean, you need it softened to mix it, but when you do,
You know you're going to have a mess on your hands, literally.
literally. But that's why I'm wearing this apron, so I can wipe my hands off. That's
Your fancy.
my fancy
Caldwell
apron.
County
My
apron.
fancy Caldwell County apron. Let me reach across and again grab this recipe because if I start making things up, it may or may not turn out too well. So I have cream cheese. And then I have butter that's melted. They said melted and cooled. This is cooled a little bit. It hasn't cooled a whole lot, but we're going for
Go
it
for
here.
it, girl.
You know, if you have your life together and you can let everything work out perfect.
I mean, what fun is that, though?
Kirsten, I know you still bake, so. So when you bake, do you have everything laid out perfect, or are you grabbing stuff all
I
over the
grab
kitchen?
as I go. It's everywhere. It's a mess. I
It-
make a
it
mess, and then it all comes together, and then at the end.
That's the way I do it too.
Yeah.
So it can't be any different on TV.
No.
I try to clean up and look better for you, but it's only an attempt. So we're going to mix our cream cheese and our butter together. Maybe at a little slower speed than that. And this just doesn't look really pretty, but that's okay. It will come together. This actually reminds me of cottage cheese.
It does. It really looks like it.
So with that combined, kind of combined, we are going to add powdered sugar.
Powdered sugar.
And this is 2 cups of powdered sugar. Again, I measured it so I didn't have to bring my whole entire powdered sugar container because, you know, we don't want that. Ease. I would like to tell you that when I'm baking in my kitchen, I have everything measured out, but I don't. I'm running around and then I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot the eggs. So that's real life baking.
Yeah. After it's already in the oven, it's using that.
Oh, we need vanilla extract.
Vanilla extract. I just happen to have that.
And you do. And I really feel like I am missing something. Because this is a little dry. So, you know,
Do that.
I think we're going to grab just a little bit of our heavy whipping cream.
Yes, that's what I think that'll help a little bit.
Because I kind of feel like I've left something out here, but again, we'll put the recipe up. I'm going to give you the half. And I'm not going to measure, I'm just going to put a little in here. Just, you know, it doesn't take much when you're doing icing or glazes or anything. And it'll all of a sudden start looking like cake icing. Or in our case, cinnamon roll icing.
Cinnamon roll icing, exactly.
Okay. We're gonna, clearly I didn't practice this with this mixer. Yeah, I'm gonna put just a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe I'm going to try not to make a mess here and see if that will spin off, or if I can. We can get some of that out of there. One thing about baking, it is a science, which clearly I don't know that much about. But there's times when you can look at it and you can kind of improvise.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like that's not the right texture, or
Right. I mean,
look quite done.
doesn't look quite right, so
You just gotta roll with it.
you just roll with it. And sometimes you just have to mix it with a spoon, or in my case, a spatula. But the point with this is you want it to be, oh, see, Kirsten's probably going to get something and clean that off a little bit better for me because that's how she works, and she's so awesome. Probably would help if I move this over here. And that more.
Don't want to waste any of that goodness.
No, we don't.
All that sugar.
All that sugar.
Yep.
Again, if you have small kids, this might not be the recipe you want to feed them.
Oh, but they would enjoy licking that spatula. I'll tell
They
you
would
that.
enjoy licking the spatula. I tell you, no matter what age you are, I think there's something about licking a spatula that is pretty awesome.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I had my adult children at my house recently, and I don't even remember what I was making, but my daughter just sat there and looked at me like, "Are you going to give me that beater to lick?" I mean, she didn't say anything. She just stood there and kind of eyeballed me, and I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah, I forgot.
Yeah,
You're
sorry.
here. Sorry."
sorry. Speaking of, yeah, it tastes pretty good, Paige.
So we're going to let our cinnamon rolls finish baking, and we might do a little kitchen cleanup while that's going on, but we'll have the finished product for you in just a few minutes. So we have our cinnamon rolls out of the oven, and they smell good.
They do. They smell delicious. I'm excited to put some of this icing on top of
Well,
it.
I'm gonna let you just do the
Ooh,
honors. This
look
is
at
not
me.
like a pretty icing thing. This is more like you just glop
We're gonna get it on there. A thick layer.
a thick layer.
Yeah. Might need the heat. It's gonna start smushing everywhere.
You just kind of smush it. And these are still a little bit, there's a lot of cinnamon juice. That's what I'm going to call it, cinnamon juice. Cinnamon goodness, buttery cinnamon goodness still on there. And Kirsten's doing a great job. Since I just like said, hey, here, you do it.
Smear it on there.
But if you think about cinnamon rolls you buy in the Cinnabon or your fancy, there's a Cinnaholic in Pigeon Forge. Just in
Oh,
case.
is there?
Yes. And their icing is just like, it's not pretty. It's just on there. So we're not really going for pretty, but I
No,
think,
we're not being artistic today. We're just
no. But I think I said when I started this show a long time ago, and people probably don't remember because it's been so long since I've done a show, that my food may not always be pretty, but I try to make it taste good.
Boy, does it taste good.
So that's really all I'm shooting for. It may not be the prettiest food, but we want it to be tasty.
Exactly. Well, this is a nice thick layer.
It's a nice thick layer.
So, just trying to spread her out.
And we may or may not have the best tool for spreading. Sometimes metal works a little bit better.
Yeah.
But we're learning a new kitchen,
We're working with what we got.
and we just grabbed some stuff out of the cabinets and may or may not have made the best choices.
Hey, there's always next time.
There is always next time. And while this baked, I was thinking that maybe the first time I used a whole stick of butter when I did the topping just over the cinnamon rolls.
Yeah.
And I probably used a whole stick of butter in the icing too, so
It might be a little more.
it might be a little thinner, a little easier to work with. Just, that's up to you. How much butter do you want? How much butter can you consume?
Right.
Butter to your heart's content. I kind of
Exactly.
sound like Paula Dean
You
there.
kind of do for.
Yeah.
Can't have too much butter, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there's just a nice little layer.
It's a nice little layer. And there you have it. There are some cheap cinnamon rolls to make them just a little bit better. And you decide which kind you like. Thank you for being here, Kirsten.
Thanks for having me, Paige. I'm excited for us to get back in the kitchen and
I know it's going to be
watch
fun.
you work. Oh my goodness.
I know it's going to be fun. I've really missed this.
Yeah.
And thank you for watching Room for Dessert.